Welcome to Zasaa Zooms In. I had a lovely conversation today with my longtime friend, childhood friend, Chinwe, and her sister, Roz, who is also my sister. And we spoke about dreams. As women, have we given up our dreams? Well, the question was, have we given up our dreams for our husbands? We kind of, obviously, as always happens with Zaza Zooms In, the conversation veers off the original topic, but we kind of spoke about that, and then we kind of decided, well, maybe it's not for our husbands that we gave up our dreams, maybe it was for our family. It was a really interesting conversation to see whether we thought that we had, and also whether we were even aware that we were doing it when we did it. Whether we were aware, whether it was something we saw. Would we have done it different? Were we intentional in giving up our dreams? Was it something that our husbands asked us to do? So we had a real nice conversation around that, and this is what we had to say. Hello and welcome to Zaza Zooms In. I've got my two girls, Chinwe and Roz, with me today, and we're going to talk about, what are we talking about, Chin? We're talking about, the question is, do you think that you had to give up your dreams for your husband? Chinwe.
Wow.
So, should I help you?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So I think the reason I came up with this thing is because I think that for a lot of women, whether we're asked to or not, I think we tend to, I don't know if we're built like that, we just tend to give up, put ourselves last. So in a marriage situation, maybe I should rephrase that to say give up your dreams for your family, maybe not for your husband specifically, but obviously it starts off with your husband. So I think that for a lot of us in our marriage situations, if our husband has something he wants to do, we're more likely to step back and say, you go ahead and do it, so that did you understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't just end the thing and say, yes, absolutely. We're having a discussion.
No. Yes, I definitely think I did. However, I didn't know I was doing it at the time. So it just came naturally. I think maybe around the time I turned 40, I realized that, there were dreams that I had that are still waiting, So yeah, definitely gave up a lot of dreams.
Okay, but do you think, do you think that because I think the other thing is that they don't necessarily ask us to, but we resent them because we've done it, but they didn't actually ask us to do it. So do you think at any point your husband said to you, pause your dreams for me?
No.
So it was your decision, it was our decision to basically do that. But then the husbands maybe weren't intuitive enough to realize that at some point they should say, come on, grab your dreams and you go now.
Absolutely. I do agree. I agree with that. I think, so for me, yes, definitely. I think I gave up quite a few dreams. However, I didn't even really know what those dreams were.
Yeah.
It's not like I had listed dreams at all. I say them now, like, gosh, I would have loved to live one nice one bedroom apartment in Paris, working one simple job just on my own, like that kind of life for like 2 years before. But it's not like those dreams were listed and then I knew about them. Yes, so no. Yeah. But the older you get, I feel you realize that, oh gosh, I actually did want to do that, and I did want to do this, and I know I couldn't do it because, so you do become quite resentful. So yeah, definitely. I do think I did give up. And I think I'm still giving up because I feel that now, people say, oh, you're never too old to do this or to do that, but I do feel time has passed.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that I can't recover. I can't do them anymore. So,
like you can't go to Paris and live in a one bedroom.
Well, I can, but it will be I'll have to sacrifice so many things.
Yeah.
So, and you?
Yeah, for me, I think I agree with you that I didn't realize that I was giving up certain things. And also with my relationship, my husband is 12 years older than me.
Okay.
And so when I met him, I was 23, he was 35. And so our relationship was geared towards what he wanted. And I didn't even realize that it was really geared towards what he wanted. It's just that he would say, let's do this, or I want to do that. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like I was thinking, well, I don't really want to do that. It was more like, how can I make myself want that? Because that's what we need to do. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I need to be okay with it. And I don't even think I gave it that much thought. It's just that here's this guy, he's older, he's established, he's successful.
And you trusted what he was doing.
I trust
anyway.
what he's telling me. I trust that he knows what's good for us. And so I did it. And now I think I agree with Chinwe. I think when I turned probably 45-ish, I'm 55 now, when I turned around 45, I was like, wait a minute. I actually don't want to do that. That thing that you're telling me now we need to do, I actually don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I started, whether you call it pushing back or saying, no, you can do it if you want to, but I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then also I think, yes, that's the relationship. And then in terms of the family, yes, absolutely. I think you almost, not completely, but you really do. I really did give up certain things in order for the betterment of our family, the comfort of our children, the comfort of my husband, the making sure the home was working smoothly and everybody was where they needed to be and was happy. And definitely now, especially I have my older daughters going off to university in the fall. Rihanna's minutes behind her. And now I'm like,
the world is my oyster. I'm going to do everything.
You're all done. All of you. In fact, my husband now is retired and he works on a foundation that he has. So he's busy, he works, but he's largely retired. And his thing is he wants to like move to Florida and retire in Florida. And so he'll say things to me, or he used to before I set him straight. He would say, "We're retired."
No, I'm not.
And I'm like, no. Yeah. No, I'm not. You might be, I'm not. So now when the kids leave, now is my turn to, this time is now for me, and I'm going to do the things I've wanted to do. So I'm not retired. So we're trying to figure that balance out. But
and the funny thing is that you kind of come off a little bit nasty.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're trying to
because you're saying no.
You're saying no, and they're so used to you just
saying
going
yes,
with the flow
exactly.
and saying yes, that when you finally realize that, you know what, no, actually that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like you're a bad person.
Yeah, like you're a nasty
for desiring
old bitch.
what you want to
Exactly.
But you know what? Both of you said when you hit 40 and you said when you hit 45.
Yeah.
And you know, they always say that women change.
Yes.
And, you know, so do you think that at that age, maybe that's when we kind of get to know ourselves better and therefore we know what we want?
Yes, definitely. You now you get to know yourself. You're also unafraid.
Yeah.
Because one thing I noticed as I grew older was, you know, when you're younger, you know, oh God, I hope this person shouldn't be mad at me. I hope this one likes me. I hope this.
Yeah.
You get to a certain place where you're like, you know what, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Don't give a monkey's. If you're upset, if you don't like me, and not just your family members,
Anybody,
but you know, your friends, everybody.
Yes,
It's like, you know, you would have said, oh, I'm not going to say this, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to piss them off. I don't want to hurt their feelings. And it's not that you're nasty about it. You're just more certain about yourself. So you're no longer willing to accept or compromise on things that you just really don't feel that you need to accept or compromise.
Yeah, but you see, obviously, because you have been accepting and compromising,
it's different. Everybody else is like, oh, she's attached to her. She's no longer.
Yes.
She's not the nice. My husband always says it.
Yes,
when I met Roz, she was so lovely.
Yes.
He tells Chinwe all the time. Oh, she was this, she was that, she was the other thing, and now she's really hard and tough and everything. But the good thing is that I think he also understands that part of that is because he's so forceful that he realizes on a certain level that I had to become forceful in order to counter that. Yeah. Because otherwise, I mean, I think I allowed him to spend years running roughshod over me. And now it's like,
Yeah, it's interesting because I always think, would it be, I remember when I was getting married, obviously I'd been with my husband for 7 years, so from childhood to marriage. And I remember my brother-in-law saying to me, he said, I can't support this marriage because I was 24. At 24. He said, I can't support this marriage. And I said, why? He said, wait until you're 25 because women change. At 25, if you still want to marry him, I'll be 100% behind you. And I didn't get it and I didn't really pay too much attention and I did wait till I was 25, just not because of that, just circumstances. But I found it, I never forgot that statement he made because he was like, at 25 you will change your mind.
Yeah.
So if you still feel the same at 25, then he said because when you're at 30 you will change your mind. At 40, he said that's how women are.
Yes.
And I thought, but I get it now.
Right.
What he meant that
Right.
we do. I guess it's that thing of getting to know yourself at 25. Do we know ourselves?
I mean, I still didn't know anything at 25. I was completely.
But I'm even wondering whether there's a way, like maybe for our daughters, that they can know themselves earlier so that they don't end up in this. Do you think
So
that's
no, I
possible?
think they know themselves quite well. In fact, my fear is that
Far better.
they know themselves so well that they actually will not.
Exactly.
And God help the young man that they
Exactly.
find, right, or that finds them or whatever. I think they will marry and all that, but they know exactly what they want.
Yeah, and they're
When
not afraid
they're
to
not
say.
And
afraid
is
to
that
say
also
it.
because
They're
they were
not-
brought
they're
up,
unapologetic.
they've had different societies in which they were brought? Because I think we were brought up in Nigeria, and it's a different society.
No, I don't think. Yes, it is. So, but I don't think that has anything to. Not much. It might have some, but I think this age in which they're growing up
It's a different.
is
age,
completely
isn't it?
different. So whether they grew up in Nigeria, I mean, like my daughter, for instance, has done both.
Yeah.
You know, and she has the same views on both sides
As her friends on
that
both
are in
sides.
Nigeria that have never lived in England or lived same views.
I
They know
think
exactly
society
what
had different expectations for us
Back
when
then.
we were growing up,
Yeah.
and very different expectations of girls now. Girls now are, I mean, what do you hear all the time now? Female empowerment. Women this, women that. And it's wonderful for them, but I don't think we had that.
Yeah.
they want. No, nobody really. Well, for me, I know nobody, and us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nobody really told us anything.
No.
And we had
No.
we came from a liberal, quite a
Exactly.
liberal home.
Yeah.
When you say told you anything like what?
I mean,
what did you want to
I
be
don't
told?
remember my mom. Like, I know I talked to Alex a lot more than my mother talked to me.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And I
And our
talked to
mother
her-
would they would
and
say things like, "Oh, you have to get educated before you get
Yes.
married," but it was just something they said. It
And
wasn't
also
like
things like be nice. And,
Yeah, yeah.
But it wasn't detailed.
it was different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Certainly, I think we were brought up more to
Conform.
work with somebody, to conform, to be nice,
Yes.
to
get along.
to get
Yeah, because
along.
then if you did ever rock the boat, you were seen as the bad one.
Exactly,
Like, the
exactly,
few, because we had a
exactly.
few
Yes.
that were
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
it wasn't that they were
exactly.
bad. They were just, but we knew
yeah,
them
they
as
were
the
just
bad
more
ones.
aware, and they just weren't. They just knew themselves
Yeah.
better than the
And
rest
as,
of us.
and as much as we look at our daughters and sons, I guess, and we see the choices that they make and the things that they say, all these
Yeah.
like comments that they make. I mean, I'm kind of excited,
yes,
like
yeah,
about their future. Like, gosh, I wonder how that's going
Yeah.
to, So we celebrate it, we promote it, we sort of push it a bit.
yeah,
So I think it's a different ball game for them.
yeah. Definitely.
So we don't think our daughters will be giving up their dreams.
No,
Definitely not.
No.
Yeah,
Definitely-
I actually suddenly
definitely
thinking
not.
about my daughters. I can't see.
Yeah, no,
can't see that
exactly,
happening.
exactly.
But do we think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Well,
Or
I
an-
think
or
you
an
started
okay
to say it. I think it's generally a good thing, but I think there is, like when I hear my younger daughter, the way she talks about marriage and relationships and boys, I mean, she's so almost domineering that I'm like, oh, chill now. It's not, they know so well what they want and that they're not going to deviate from it. It's almost like, in any relationship, I don't care what time frame you're talking about, you do have to compromise.
Of course, yeah.
In any relationship, it all can't be your way. And I do think there's a risk that for these girls, it's my way or it's
Yes,
no way.
but of course,
you know?
they've never also fallen in love.
They've never been
So-
there.
Do you know-
Exactly.
But you know what?
Exactly.
I realized there's a lot of marriages that are failing within 1 year, within 2 years, even within the church.
Yes.
At the moment, and it is because of the girls don't have time for rubbish.
No.
Yes,
A lot of the
yes,
time, it's
yes,
like
yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah.
willing to
They're not going to come.
to
They're
back
not-
down
they're-
or to compromise
yes,
or to
yeah,
support.
yeah,
And
right.
maybe support is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. They're just
Yes,
not. It's
yes.
like I'm quite
Because
okay.
marriages have they have
Yeah,
ups
they
and
have ups and
downs.
downs, absolutely,
Not
yeah.
everything is going to be wonderful, and hopefully, the way I always looked at marriage was that it's a series of peaks and valleys, and it's the peaks that help you get through the valleys,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's the valleys that help you appreciate the peaks. So no marriage is going to be perfect all the way through, and yeah, sometimes I feel like I hope that our daughters are willing to at some point accept that it's not always going to be rosy, but as you said, they've never really fallen in love, so they don't really,
know.
know.
Yes. You also wonder that, you know, a lot of times they say, or I think they say, or they're thinking, what do I really need him for?
Yes.
And so
yes.
what do they
Right.
need their husband
Right.
for?
Right.
What would they need him for? I mean,
true.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're gearing up
We're
our
not-
kids, all of us, to have good jobs, to be able to
Yes.
support themselves. What do they? I mean, I suppose to have children, but
Then again, the mindset is not. I mean, it depends on how your child was brought up. Like, if your child has been, I mean, I'm going into the biblical now. If your child was brought up to believe that, okay, husband and wife, and then you have a child in that order and all those things, then fine. But if not, then what do you really need the man for?
No, it's true. I mean, very valid point. And I think, and one of my biggest challenges as a mother of boys is that I don't want my boy to be a liability.
yes,
Because I feel like
yes.
girls kind of, I don't know, I just think that's the way we're created.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
find our space, we know what we're
Exactly.
supposed to do,
Right.
we're cool. But I think
Right.
sometimes with guys, I just feel like I don't want any woman to be thinking that my son
Yeah.
is like,
Well, the thing about
Yeah.
it with men,
Like,
with women and men, when you get married, you're pretty much, for a woman, a husband limits you.
yeah.
So you're as good as your husband
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you break away from him and you just fly.
Zoom.
I mean, you find a lot of times women that this thing has turned into something. So
That's the whole point.
a lot of times you find a lot of women. Well, I'm looking at Nigeria, so that's what I see. So you find a lot of women that divorce their husbands or that leave, or the husband dies. They really succeed. You know, and it's a bit, you wonder that, okay, what was happening? So when you look at when you think of the boys, I too always say to the boys that, look, I don't want you to be anyone's mess. I want you to be great so that your wives can also be great, you know. You don't want them to be liabilities, but daughters and sons are completely different.
But you know, it's also because of, from a biblical point of view, if we go back to that biblical thing, because of this whole thing of, you know, wives submit, submit one to another, you know, but because of that, a lot of the time, like you said, that's why the men, so you can't really, there's a limit to what you can do when your husband, because everything reflects on your husband. And I used to say this to Wale before, I was like, everything you do reflects on me, you know, and everything I do reflects on you, but they don't get it, and it's always much worse. You know, it's the same way if a child is bad, it's the mother's fault.
Exactly.
If something so it's the wife's fault.
Exactly.
You know, everything seems to come back, the burden and everything seems to be back on us as women. So it's very hard. I think it's much easier for men to just get on with life and not think about because it doesn't even affect them when it affects us,
or even just
you know
walk
what I mean?
away,
or even just walk away. Exactly.
Yes,
So
yes.
no, definitely. But I think that, and it's so funny. I said it to my friend once. I said the struggle is real. She said, "What struggle?" I said the struggle between being true to myself and being a submissive wife.
Exactly.
Because it's like
yes,
the ideal would be that the husband would enable you to be true to yourself even as you're being a submissive wife.
Yes.
But the reality is that a lot of the time the men are slow to catch up
Exactly.
on that. So you are now like, okay, I need to be this wife that God has called me to
Yes.
be. But my goodness,
Right,
what's
right.
happening to me?
Yes,
Where do I
exactly,
fit into this
exactly,
thing? How do I, you know? So
exactly.
it's a
yes, it's a very fine fine balance.
And I feel like
yes.
there's almost, again, going biblical, there's almost, we have to a certain extent. And there's a time when we should be giving up our dreams for our husband, etc. But I really believe that God expected at some point for that to change around.
Yes, exactly.
Do you understand what I mean? So we support our
definitely.
husbands first, and then
Right.
support them. Well, maybe that's what happens when we turn 50. That's why we have gone a bit crazy now.
Crazy,
Because we're like,
everybody's
okay, you know what, we're 50, we're done. You know, the same way you said you guys are done.
Yeah.
Maybe
Now
that's-
it's
maybe it's
nice.
And
a-
I think
50
I think also we're different. So I think with our children, I know surely for mine, especially for my daughter, when it comes to the time when she's getting married, it will be like we will have to have discussions with the future husband.
With our fiancé, can you take care of my daughter in the way to which she's
I mean, this is all
accustomed?
nice and rosy now when you're 25
Yes,
or
yeah.
30. When she's 60,
Exactly.
and you are 60, what do you expect? What are your expectations?
Yeah.
What do you plan for? What are you know, because the truth is that when we were growing up now, when we got married, we didn't, maybe
But
we knew about the next 2 years, maybe.
But you see, I hear what you're saying, and I think it makes perfect sense. But would they even know the answer at 25? What the plan?
No, they
for
might not know
60
the
is?
answer. They might not have the plan, but you would put some things in, like, look, this is the possibility, this is what happened to me, this is what could happen.
Okay.
You know, these things are things that could happen. I mean, I think the discussion, at least let the discussion be on
At
the
least let
table.
them have it in their mind, because the truth is that, I mean, I feel like most young people when they get married, they're barely thinking about the first year of marriage.
They might think, oh, when I have kids, that's it. But they don't have any real.
They're not thinking of the tribulations, the hardships, the difficulties. They're not even really thinking about what the marriage is going to look
I mean,
like.
I look at a few examples. I mean, our mothers left
their families, their countries.
And I think to myself, okay, then it's ridiculous back then.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad enough now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that if Alex pops up with someone from Australia, I mean, I'm just thinking of a far place, and they're off. No. I mean, I can't say no because you're going to do what you're going to do anyway. But it won't be easy.
But there has to be that much more planning and
and
awareness
we need
of
to know, look, how are we
yeah.
going to see you? How often? I mean, there has to be a lot more than it just, I'm in love with some guy.
And what are you going to be doing
What
there?
will you be doing there? And you know that you have no support system there.
Exactly.
So I really don't know how our mothers did it.
They just did it.
Like they did it for love, and it's
But you see, it's so interesting because I remember one of my cousins had a girlfriend from Australia, and did I tell you about this? They'd been living together, they were heading for marriage, totally, you know, and then she decided she wanted to move back to Australia, and for his work, it was just not feasible for him to move there. And she just up and left like a 10-year, I don't know, relationship or whatever. And I remember my mom and his mom, who were both foreigners that moved to Nigeria, talking about it. And they were like, you know, in our day, we gave up our, you know, she should be following him, not expecting him to follow him. You know, and I remember thinking, it's true, because they literally,
to a place they've never known. To a place they didn't know.
Everything.
Just holding on to the word of the man who was probably lying.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? To me, it's crazy, because I mean, how many women now? I do believe that's, yes, it's, you know, the woman follows the man, if you know what I mean. If you know, but I don't know how many women.
I think if they do it today, it would be because, first of all, I need to know where I'm going to be working, what I'm going to be doing.
Yes,
so there has to be a job opportunity for me there that I already know about, not one that, well, maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. And then also, I don't know about your mom, but our mom had never been to Nigeria before. Exactly. So I think today, let's say Alex is moving with her husband to Australia. She would have been there a number of times.
She had been there. You would have been
there. Exactly. You know, so you'd really know it fairly well, and it's just a completely different ball game.
It's very different, yeah.
Very different. Very, very different. And in many cases, I mean, our mother didn't even know our dad's family.
No.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Because they just went.
They just went. Exactly. Yeah. So there was zero support system for her. You're just totally relying that this man will take care of you, and
there was no communication.
With her family. You know?
Actually, I said, obviously my mom was widowed at 28 with 2 kids under 3. It was when I turned 28 I understood. Yeah. Because you know what I mean? It means in a foreign country.
And your mom was
on stage.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So you have 2 kids under the age of 3. Yeah,
and
in a foreign country.
28.
She was 28.
No.
I can't. It was when I turned 28 that I was like, okay, respect.
I mean, that's some serious stuff.
I mean, that was just normal life. But that's commitment. Where do you find this type of commitment?
Yeah, and I think that commitment just dwindles in each generation, because even for me, I mean, of course I grew up in Nigeria, grew up in Ibadan, so Ibadan Nigeria is not new to me at all. But even when I moved back first of all, I moved to London because of my husband, and we weren't even married, but I still moved to London because of that, and then moved from London back to Nigeria. But there was absolutely no plan for me, but there was a plan for him. He knew what he was going to do. I was just following him to Lagos, and I didn't think anything of it, you know. So these kids, I'm not too sure what they're going to be doing. Whatever they'll be doing will be with a lot more information.
Yeah,
a lot more information, a lot more support.
Yes, more support as well,
and a lot more knowledge.
Yeah, and I think also
because the world is so open. So
now when our parents moved our mothers moved to the foreign country, the support, it's not that they want support, but obviously there's the racial, the barrier
Exactly,
as well,
yes,
the
yes.
cultural barrier and everything.
Yes.
So the support level is slightly different. With us, even though there's racial stuff, there's it's a much more open.
But
Exactly,
you know what? I also think they
exactly.
were vulnerable, and the husbands were also vulnerable because the husbands also had come to England or the States on their own
Yeah.
with no support,
Right.
with
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
and they met this. So they were both in the same. Like
So
I've come to yours.
maybe the husbands understood better.
They
than
probably
thought.
did. Exactly. They
Maybe,
probably did.
maybe.
Yeah, they probably did.
Yeah,
Actually.
having been through that themselves.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, interesting. Okay, I think we'll end it here. We'll talk about something else later. But we don't. Okay, we think we gave up our dreams for our family, for our husbands. We're not sure we were doing it intentionally.
Yes.
Whether we were aware as we did it that it would be so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get
But we don't think our daughters are going to do it.
No,
No, not at all.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Thank
This
you,
was nice.
ladies.
Thank you.
There you have it. We do think that we gave up our dreams for our husbands. We don't think, however, that our husbands necessarily asked us to do so. It was just something that was instinctive, something that we did because we did. Maybe partly because we felt that it would make us better wives, maybe because we thought that was what was expected of us, maybe because we were just practical and that's what made sense, for different reasons. But we did in some way sacrifice some of what we thought we would be or who we wanted to be because we found ourselves in this situation. What I found most interesting about this is the fact that we're not 100% sure that our daughters will do that, because a completely different age, completely different time, and they see things very differently. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, we won't know for a couple of years because they're still young, but yeah, I think that would be really interesting because it's just completely different, and the way they behave, the way, it's just completely different. Do you have any thoughts on this? Let us know. God bless you.